and me also during the appointment process.
We're
Interrogating.
I see. I do. All right. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
You're gonna unmute.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on our agenda is the oath of office of our newly elected board members. We had Dan, who was done last time. We have Colleen and Martha. You'd both please stand up. Raise your right hands. I state your name.
I, Colleen Locke,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as
and I will faithfully discharge the duties as
General Board Member
General Board Member
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt to leave it on.
Next on the agenda is the nomination for the Board of Education for president. Do we have any nominations?
I'd like to make a nomination for Rick Preston. I think that Rick has done an admirable, more than admirable job, I believe, the last 3 years when he took over from Mary Dietrich. And I could be wrong, but I think that it may take 3 years for someone to really learn the position before, they move on. I feel like that as a board member that takes that long. So I'd like to nominate Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other nominations?
No, I was just going to second that nomination. And I just think,
Third, it's just permanent.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I was just thinking that, especially with the transition that we're going through, one less transition would be very helpful. And I know how there's been some stress associated with this position recently, and special thanks for putting all the effort in.
Rick, do you accept this nomination?
I will.
Okay, if everybody would please raise your hand who votes yes for Rick. Any no's? Any abstentions?
Oh, abstain.
Congratulations, Rick.
Did you vote? Joni, did you vote?
She raised her hand.
Okay. I couldn't see.
I did.
Well, thank you for your confidence and nice words. I appreciate it.
And now it's your turn, Rick. My least favorite part of my job. Please stand up. Raise your right hand. I
I-
state your name.
Rick Preston,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the
that I
Constitution
will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of
And
the
the
State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as
I will faithfully discharge the duties as
President
President
of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
You now may run the meeting.
Oh, gosh, needed a break. Okay. Request nominations for the position of Vice President.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. I would nominate Dan Marvin. And it's the same deal, the least transition. And I also feel that he has the institutional memory that we're going to need, because I think this new superintendent is going to need oversight, real oversight, not just nominal. So I would nominate Dan Marvin.
Thank you, Liam. Any others?
Dan, are you willing to accept this nomination?
Yes.
You have a second?
I'll second it.
You can third it again.
Third.
Okay,
And for many of the same reasons. I mean, Dan, I think you've done an admirable job and you're probably a good right hand to Rick. And I think you probably both work well together. And I think we should forge ahead as we go through this transition period on much of what Liam just said. So
Thank
you're
you.
into it again. There you have it.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We have 6-4 and 1 abstention.
Right.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is for the good of,
Karen's got to come.
whoops, oh gosh, slow down. See,
Oh,
that's why we have him around.
moving on.
Already proving your worth.
Jeez.
And don't any of you others leave that didn't get sworn in, sign the book. I state your name,
I, Daniel Marvin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties as Vice President
the duties as Vice President
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Good of the cause, Karen, do we have? And there's no one in the audience, so. Consent agenda. Recommended action is approve the following items, which are included in the consent agenda. 8A, Board of Education meeting dates. 8B, appointment of district officials. 8C, appointment of other positions. 8D, bonding of personnel. 8E, designations. 8F, authorizations. 9A, approval of the June 15th meeting minutes. 11A, policy 5300, code of conduct, second read and adoption.
No,
No?
whatever that last one was, no.
Okay.
11 each should be.
11.
Okay. 11E, BOCES transportation contract. 11F, BOCES cooperative purchasing participation. 11G, cell phone approval. And 11H, which is the special education. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Daniel. Any discussion? Exclusions?
Where do I get my cell phone?
If not, please vote. Where did I get the code of conduct in there?
I don't know. Did you know? Okay. 7 yes.
Okay, 7 yes, 0 no, the motion passes. Superintendent's report. You're early in the agenda.
I am early.
Yeah.
Well, that consent agenda really covered a lot of ground,
It's-
didn't it?
Yes,
First of all, I just want to say congratulations to Dan and Rick. You know, everyone sees our public meetings, but, you know, they also participate in our executive committee. And I just want to say, we couldn't ask for 2 more committed and ethical people steering this Board of Education. So thank you
Thank you.
for all you do. And thank you for agreeing to do it again. And congratulations.
thank you.
I want to mention a couple of things that focus on the end of the year. It is the end of the year. I guess it's the start of a new year. That's why we're doing the reorganization meeting, but still thinking about the end of the previous school year. So first was the commencement ceremony, and I know some of you were able to attend the ceremony. I really just wanted to thank everybody for their contributions this year. You know, the ceremony was on Friday the 25th. It was at the Cordial Athletic Fields, first time we've ever done that. course, that's pandemic related as well as construction related, right? So those two things required us to go and do something different. And we were able to do that. We were able to recognize the class of 2021 and the 44 students who graduated. I wanted to just to mention that it takes a lot of people to pull together a graduation, especially during this pandemic period. And I don't know if they were all mentioned, so I'm just going to mention their names because I think it's really important to you, for all of us and the community to recognize how many people it takes to do this. So, and people contributed in multiple ways, some of them at the ceremony, some of them in the preparation for the ceremony, some of them in the organization and the oversight of the graduates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the names of people who helped pull this graduation together. Sarah Allen, Brandon Bosworth, Alicia Brandes, John Burdick, Amanda Cash, Cora Clark, Eric Dornbush, Brendan Gotham, John Glinsky, Connie Hamaker, Sandy Huber, Mary Claire Kopsiansky, Emily Kukuvka, Brian LaValle, Patty Mayberry, Emily McConvey, Patty McConvey, Taylor Prosper, Alan Robinson, Amy Spicer, Kaylee Taylor, the entire Millen High School custodial staff, as well as the district's building and ground staff, Jay Harvey and the Order team. They do much setting up the equipment, and Good Guy Productions. Thank you to everybody for a once a year event to be able to put that much effort into in order to make it as nice an event as it can be. Just want everyone to know how grateful we are for their support. I forgot to mention one person, and that was Tammy Casey, our principal. Nobody did more to pull together the graduation, and nobody worried more about this event. And I'm telling you, that worrying started early, and it started when we knew the construction was going to interfere in our normal site. And then it proceeded into the regulations and what we would be allowed to do. And from the beginning of organizing this ceremony, the regulations changed. And so we had to change along with them. And Tammy Casey oversaw that. And she was the one who, on the ground, really led the charge. So a really big thank you to our high school principal, Tammy Casey. There were 44 graduates being honored at graduation, and I thought that I would share with you some information, and I've done this on an annual basis. So what I did was in the superintendent's, if you go to board docs, in the superintendent's report area, there is in the executive content a draft of the graduate summary. And it's a draft because, because it's not 100% probably yet, and I do need to fine tune it, but that will be moved to the public section as soon as we can. This is 3 pages, and this summary really addresses our graduates as well as our Regents exam scores. Again, traditionally, I always like to share those with you too, because they're one of the last things that happen before the end of the school year. So if you just look at the graduate summary, and I just want to walk you through it. So we had 44 students who were honored on graduation evening. All 44 received diplomas. That's not always the case. So 100% of those students who were honored received a local, a Regents, or an advanced Regents diploma. My early estimate on graduation rate is about 90%. So that graduation rate is a reflection of the students who started 9th grade 4 years earlier. And those students are tracked electronically by the state. And if after 4 years they receive a high school diploma, they're considered to be graduates, a part of that graduation rate. And if they were not able to do that, then that's why it's not 100%, right? So, so this year we're looking at 90%. And I think after a year and a half of the pandemic, that's pretty good number. In addition, there are other pieces of information here. 21 of our students, or 48% of our graduates, received a Regents with Advanced designation. 48% also received Regents diplomas. And the technical endorsement numbers stood out to me. We had 34% of our students through the their career technical education program earn a technical endorsement. And so they're going out into the world of work pretty well prepared. In terms of future plans, 45% of our graduates told us that they were planning to attend a four-year college, 7% two-year college, 5% other post-secondary, 2% military, 25% employment. That's a much higher number than we're used to seeing. And then another number that we're not really used to seeing is the gap year percentage. 14% of our graduates said they were going to take a gap year. And if you're not familiar with gap year, they've become more and more popular over the years. That's a decision that students make after high school to decide that rather than launching right into college or right into some other permanent commitment, they're going to take a year to gain some new experiences before they make a choice to perhaps go to start a college program. So 14% of our students, I think that's the highest since I've been paying attention to this.
I would think that probably ties in just to letting the colleges get back to normal and probably taking another year, and parents feeling like, let's save our money for a year.
Right, you're absolutely right.
And then it's nice to see the technical endorsements because they obviously correlate with the employment. So those kids who are going right out into the field to work. So
Right.
I think that's great to see.
Yeah. And then if you move on to the next page, Regents exam scores. First thing you're going to notice here is that most of those Regents exams have no scores, right? Because as you know, we were limited this year to 4 Regents exams. All the other ones were canceled. They were canceled January, June, and August. The 4 that we have here, which is the English Regents exam, the Algebra Regents exam, the Earth Science Regents exam, and the Living Environment Regents exam, they were administered primarily because it's federal requirement that at one point in a student's high school career, they take a standardized exam in English, math, and science. So these exams were required to be administered. You know, as with a lot of things, that was not as much of a challenge for us as it was for other schools because such a high percentage of our students were in person this year, and especially by the end of the year, where almost all of our students were in person. But if you just glance across that, the English Regents exam results, 45 students took that exam. And then if you go to the right-hand side, 67% of them scored in the mastery range. That's 85 and above, and 24% scored in the 65 to 84, also passing range. So you put those two together, and that's 91% of our students taking the English Regents exam. Passed it. 45 is a pretty high number because while typically these would be absolutely required for students to take, that wasn't the case. So they had to be administered. But again, the state rules that came about along with this did allow for students who did not take it to still graduate without this exam. In other words, for that requirement to be waived. So the high number of students taking it is also stands out.
Do you think, Roger, that because they've already done this, that maybe they'll remove some of these exams in the future? Or do you think that they're bring these all back at some point?
So I think a lot is being reconsidered right now. Regents exams, however, have been around for over 100 years.
Yeah.
And so that would be a large step, very significant step. So we'll see where it goes. Algebra, 52% of our students passed the Algebra Regents exam. Earth Science, 72% passed it, and Living Environment, that's 81% passed it. So those are the results. I did provide you with a third page, and that's a 5-year historical overview. And the one thing you might notice is that the 5-year historical overview ends in 2019, and that's because, of course, 2020 there were no Regents exams at all administered, and then this year you have those results, and only 4 of them were. But I think one of the things you notice is that, pandemic or not, results change. And that's especially true, I think, in a small school where, situations arise that have a big impact on schools. Overall, we do very well, but that's more information for you. So that's my summary. Any questions about the graduate summary or the Regents exam summary?
I think it's great that you provide this to us every year. It really is helpful for us to be able to see how our students are doing.
My hope is at the next meeting to be able to provide you with again, summary information on college entrance exams and AP exams. So that's everything I have. Any questions or additional comments?
Thank you for all the information.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Information for the board. There's the summer law conference information with a link of the NYSBA convention, which is October 24th through the 26th. There's also a link there. And then the Getting to Know You NYSBA complimentary webinar, which is learning more about NYSBA and their services. Do you want people to register themselves, Karen? Is that okay? I know there's the link there, so.
It's complimentary.
Mhm.
Anybody who's new to the school board might be interested.
Sure. And then we have a capstone project, the commencement of which you also received a hard copy of, and then letter to the editor.
Good letter, nicely done.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see it in here, so.
And Rick, special thanks.
Oh.
For your kind words.
That's well deserved. Thank you. Any questions, any comments like the capstone project? I think that's worthy of discussion if ever anybody has any questions or comments.
I think that would be a good change
Mhm.
to the senior project. It almost broadens what they can do, so.
Yeah. And it does sort of attempt to redirect some of the fundraising ideas sometimes aren't as, in our perception, haven't been as valuable. So shifting to more of these kinds of questions. And you go to it over time.
Any feedback from students? Have they taken a poll of students, what their thoughts are?
I don't think so.
Okay,
It's great to give them options.
sure.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
that's the nice thing about it.
Typically, if you did poll them, they would say they didn't want to do anyone.
Yeah.
But that's beforehand. But afterwards, I think our students really recognize the value of it. And often, for some of our students, it's the first time they've ever had to make that kind of presentation in front of a group of adults and
Mhm.
respond to questions. And they do overall they do a very nice job.
And I noticed in the past couple of years that it wasn't about the completion of the project, but going through the motions without the actual physical completion. I know there was a drainage system here going into barrels, and which was a great presentation, but I think they ran out of time. So, and perhaps financially,
Have you looked out the window?
is there barrels out there?
I think they're barrels up there.
Are there?
They get them late.
Did they?
Yeah.
Are they draining off the roof? Like,
I have to ask somebody. Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Really?
I don't think anyone's hooking up to the barrel, but
okay,
yes, there's a gutter and a drain.
Okay. I'll partially retract my statement.
One of the goals for the capstone is, of course, to encourage students not to do something that, will then not be able to sustain itself because it needs constant maintenance. So the garden ideas that a lot of our students have done, they've done very nicely. However, who's going to replenish that garden the next year and the next year and the next year? Those are some of the questions that come up. So that's usually the challenge of the projects.
No, one of the projects was the benches, which are absolutely gorgeous if you haven't seen them.
The ones that were made out of big pick lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're in the front of the school towards the south end, overlooking the mountains. It's really nice. Those will be around a while. There's sustainability in that 4-inch thick seat that it has. So. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, we'll go on to the policy review. Let's see. Policy review, these are required for annual review. The Code of Conduct, 5,300. The investments, 6,240. Purchasing, 6,700. Attendance, 5,100. And the free and reduced meal price services, 8,520. These do not need approval, correct? They just are in for review. Okay.
And 5,300 you will see probably in the August.
Right. That's when the,
'Cause the policy-
what am I looking for?
But we still review it tonight.
No.
No.
I mean,
It-
there's be changes to it.
Right.
Yeah.
But this one's required at the annual.
Go
Right.
through
Yeah.
the process.
So. Then there's a public hearing on it and then we vote on it, correct?
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Okay, if not, we'll get on to the action items. And A, which is the Board of Education meeting dates, that's consent. Appointment of the district officials and the positions are consent. Bonding, designations are both consent. For those of you who are relatively new, we used to go through all these and it was like a 3.5-hour meeting. It was just amazingly long. That may be too long, but it was 2.5, at least 2.5-hour meeting. So thank you to the consent agenda. Authorizations are consent as well. So we go right into the meeting minutes, which are consent. Personnel matters. Teaching staff resignation. The recommended action is upon recommendation of the superintendent, accept the resignation of Katie, go ahead, Vital-Spec, thank you. Special education teacher at the middle and high school, effective July 21st, 2021. May I have a motion to accept this resignation?
So moved.
Thank you, Martha. Second.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion, comments? If not, we'll vote, please.
Seven yes.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passes. Teaching staff appointment upon the recommendation of the superintendent, appoint Christopher Landry, professional certification, students with disabilities, grade 1 through 6, and B, grade 2, childhood education, grades 1 through 6, and early childhood education, B, grade through 2, to the position of a special education teacher in the elementary school, replacing Jason Hubbard in the tenured area of special education effective September 1st, 2021 for a 3-year term, tentatively scheduled to conclude on August 31st, 2024, contingent upon completion of the probationary term of having received composite or overall APPR ratings of either effective or highly effective in at least 3 of the 4 preceding years, and a rating higher than ineffective at the conclusion of the 2021-22 school year. For the 2021-22 school year, the salary will be $54,402, step 7, master's plus 60 of the LPEA 2022, skipping backwards here. Does it repeat itself?
It's a negotiated agreement.
Okay, for the 2022 school year's salary will be $54,2022 of the education LPE negotiated agreement July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023. May I have a motion, please, to accept this appointment?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen and Daniel. I can't,
Forget about Joan, she's out there too.
yes, I don't have a picture of her, so if somebody can tell me.
Doesn't have to tell me to.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we have to remember Joan. There she is. Joan, you'll have to wave your hand at us.
We voting? There we
Yeah.
go. Thank you.
Seven yes.
Yes. 7 yes, 0 no, the motion passes. Upon the recommendation, this is for, CSEA appointment outside custodian / bus driver. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve the appointment of Terry Preston as a 12-month bus driver / cleaner assigned to the outdoor crew for a 1-year probationary appointment beginning September 1st, 2021 and ending on August 31st, 2022. Salary is calculated at the CSEA salary schedule for the 2021-2022 school year. The salary will be step 5 bus driver cleaner at the rate of $19.30 per hour. Benefits to be prorated beginning September 1st, 2021. May I have a motion for this appointment?
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
I'll second it.
Second,
Second from Joan.
Joan. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you, Joan.
Any discussion?
It's nice to have one of the alumni of our district fill the position, so I think it's great.
Seven yes.
7 yes. 0 no, the motion passes. The next is a appointment of a CSEA appointment for food service worker. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, approve the appointment of Josh Nugent as a 10-month food service helper, 5.5 hours a day, 27.5 hours a week, for a 1-year probationary appointment beginning September 1st, 2021, and ending on August 31st, 2022. Salary is calculated on the CSEA salary schedule for the 2021-2022 year to step 1 food service helper at the rate of $16.23 per hour. May I have a motion to accept this appointment?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen.
Second.
Second, Dan. Any discussion?
If I could just add, Dana Wood led the search teams for our CSEA staff members. This is a very difficult time to find good candidates for positions. Dana worked very hard to find these candidates. We're very happy with who we have. We have more to go, right, Dana?
Thanks, Dana.
Yes. I was just thinking how difficult it is to fill these positions, and it's nice to fill them. So.
Seven yes.
7 yes, 0 against, the motion passes. Creation of a CSEA position, cook manager / food service director. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, create the position of cook manager / food service director as a 12-month, 37.5 hour a week appointment, or 10 months, 37.5 hour a week appointment with 10/20 scheduled summer days. This position will be in the CSEA union beginning at the 2021-2022 school year.
So you have to choose.
We have to? Or is it up to the interview? I mean, I sort of read it as whatever we could get. If somebody was,
I would interpret it that way.
That's how I interpreted it.
In other words, what would work best?
correct,
Find the right candidate.
right,
So it
exactly.
could be either or.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the creation of this position?
Yes.
Dan and Daniel, thank you. Any discussion?
Is anybody losing their position because of this, or is there anybody out there that?
Now, This has a long history, of course, for this position. This particular position is new, which is why we're proposing it this way. Prior to this, we did have a 20-hour-a-week food service director, which was distinct in that the food service director was part of Management Confidential, not the CSEA, which meant that the director was not really able to cook, though he was a great cook. That posed some problems. Prior to that, we had a consultant for maybe 10 hours a month, which was really not enough time. Plus, we couldn't hold on to consultants for just that amount of time. It all goes back really to changes in the federal law, as well as changes in or the desires of the community to improve our food service. And we tried a number of different ways to do so with and without oversight. And we've been without oversight now for how long? A year and a half?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so that's some of the driving reason behind that. In addition, there's some legal reasons too. Do you want to talk about those?
Well, every district needs a qualified food service director. And right now, I'm holding that title, and I have to say I'm not qualified to be a food service director. As much as I like food, according to the states, I'm not the candidate. And they, so what they told me was they could actually take away our reimbursements because we don't have a qualified person. So that was also a driving force as we're moving in the direction of offering meals to all. And it does appear that the state and federal governments are moving in that direction as well, and not just districts relying on districts to pay for everything. I think it makes sense to have a full-time person in this position to oversee the program.
The answer to your question is we're not eliminating any other positions. That doesn't mean there might not be some ideas that come out of this position. Should we hire the right person, and should that person have some new ideas to restructure or reorganize? That is possible.
Yeah.
But no, right now we're not eliminating any position.
Have any more names in your hat, Dana?
No.
No, because it's.
We haven't actually advertised for
Yeah.
this position. We've only, so
Yeah.
once we advertise, we're hoping that we will get a greater number because of the title and the
Yeah.
number of hours.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Where would the location be, or is that another undetermined factor? Would it be up here, or would it be at
Back and
both?
forth,
Both,
yeah,
okay.
back and forth.
I know they'd be over both, but since they can cook, I guess they'd just be covering. Yeah.
Right, that was the other concern is with lack of subs, having someone that can actually step in to
Mhm.
cook when needed, covers that. We didn't have that ability before.
Yeah,
with a
great.
part-time person.
Didn't we bring that person on part-time when the composting project started? Or there was something that all went on around that time, I thought, with the farm to table
There was the farm to
concept
school
and,
movement,
yeah.
mostly, and there was composting
right,
coming into play also.
okay.
But that was so, when I said some of the desires and new ideas, that was part of it. It was
Yeah.
really this, and the federal law too.
But it wasn't a full-time person that we ever had.
Yeah, right. It was not a full-time position, and that made it hard for the person. It also made it hard, really, as Dan just pointed out, the person was going back and forth from this building to that. So you take a half-time,
Yeah,
cut them in half
Yeah.
to serve both buildings.
right, there's a lot,
It really just wasn't enough on-site time.
makes sense.
Any other comments, questions? Not. Call for a vote.
It's 7 yes.
Okay. 7 yes, 0 no. So the position is approved. Additional action items go to the policy second read and adoptions. That's consent. Sports merger.
Was it, can I go back to that? Was
Sure.
policy second read and adoptions consent?
I didn't think
I think it was not.
Oh, was not.
I think,
No, right. No, that was removed.
okay.
Was it originally on as consent?
I think yes, but then
Okay.
there was the question of, one word change to
So,
one.
so there was a recommendation at our last meeting with the diversity
Oh,
and
yes,
inclusion
yes.
committee to change the word. It's in the, I provided you with the information in the
Mhm.
background to change the word shaped to influenced. So I think the board should decide first, before approving the policy, whether to make that change. And then if so, then, you know, you vote to approve the entire
Okay.
policy.
Any discussion on the change from shaped to inclusion?
Shaped to
Influence.
Influence, I'm sorry, I'm
That
looking
was
for
in
the meeting
DEI
here.
one.
Yes,
Correct.
105.
So the motion's going to read, recommend to approve the policies as noted below with a recommended change to policy 105. Is that okay?
Right, as long as you put what the change is,
Policy 105 from,
that's in here.
I've lost it now.
Change the word shaped to influenced in the fourth bulleted statement under goals.
shaped.
From shaped to influenced in the fourth bulleted statement under goals. I'm reading from the executive background.
So the fourth bullet, I know Rick's looking for it there, but when you read it, encourage teaching and learning that examines historical injustice and inequalities that have shaped our society, or the new would be that have influenced our society.
Right.
Any suggestions?
I like that suggestion. The influence, right, what you're talking about?
Yes.
Is there another change? Yeah, no, I
No,
prefer influence.
I have no problem with influence.
I have
No.
to, you have to, reload, or else you can just do, can I have a motion? I'll do the first and second, and then the vote, and I'll do it afterwards, I'll fix it.
Let me see if I can get to it. I don't know what's going on, but I've lost that altogether.
Right, so the action says recommending to approve the policies as noted below with a recommended change to policy 105 from shaped to influenced in the fourth bulleted statement.
What she said. I have a motion to accept this, please.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Are we voting here?
No,
Okay.
can you just all say aye?
Sure.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? So the
Motion was a yes.
motion passes 7-4-0 against.
Is that, so you just passed the motion to approve
The change,
committee or just the change?
just the change. So now we should vote on all of the policies. Quickly come up with another.
I thought that the motion, the way that I had it read was recommended to approve the policies as noted below with the recommended change
okay.
to policy. I think it covers all of them.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, it
Yes.
covers all of them.
So did you just vote to approve all of them?
Yes,
Yeah.
with the changes.
So if I could just then add a word of congratulations, because the DEI policy in particular was worked on by the DEI committee starting in, Martha, was it September?
Quite a while ago.
It was quite a while ago. And, you know, in politics, right, the magic is to try and get to yes, right? So you just voted yes. And not to say, well, anyway, you just voted yes. This policy underwent many, many significant changes. And I just want to say congratulations to the entire DEI committee, for all they did to shepherd this through. But actually, the real shepherd was Martha, who led that committee. So congratulations and thank you, Martha, for taking charge on that. I think
Thank
the
you,
product's
Martha.
really very good.
Thank you.
And I know the policy committee worked very hard on it as well, so. And a couple of the policy members, the non-board member policy members are extremely proud of the product that came out, so that's
Great.
okay.
Now we're at sports.
Now we're at sports merger.
All right, here we go.
Be it resolved that the Lake Placid Central School approves the football merger with Saranac Lake School for a period of 1 year effective for the 2021-2022 school year. May I have a motion to?
Yes.
Thank you, Martha. And second?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Any comments, questions?
Comments as always.
I was waiting for Liam.
Yeah. I oppose this every year. I don't think we should do it. I think that if you have one child here that gets a serious TBI, that it will be on, we'll have responsibility for that, given the fact that we know all the dangers of the sport. We have hockey. That's our sport where, as a community, we've decided we'll take that risk because culturally it's important to us. Football, while lots of members of our community love to play it, it's not culturally, it's not a winter sport. And so there's my football diatribe for the year. So I'm going to absolutely vote against it.
Thank you.
I have to put in, I disagree again with you, Liam. I just feel that we can't put kids or keep them in a bubble. I mean, I'm a mom of a daughter that was an international alpine racer that was 70 miles an hour coming down the hill off a jump in downhill racing. And talk about something that they could have an injury from. I think it's a choice for the family, and I just don't think that we should prevent them from having access to this. I think that it's a national sport everyone enjoys, and there's a risk with a lot of sports. Anyway, there you have it.
Any other comments?
I agree with Liam's assessment of football, but I think what we're voting on here is whether or not to merge the sports and not whether or not to ban football. If that was the discussion coming out.
Well,
then I would feel differently, but-
It would be a way to, I mean, I guess in the past there was ways that students did do it without the merger, but for some reason, the merger is how they can have access to football.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we've got to let them.
So
We do it with everything else. I mean, we have.
I'm working out little by little. Looks like maybe I get an abstention, I'll get there.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
We used to have football here.
And we changed from no to abstention.
No, I was hoping maybe I got another.
Wow, Liam, you're working on it. You're working on it, Liam.
I didn't want to vote yes. I take my yes.
I think there's larger things that need to be dealt with football and CTEs. I think that's something that our school district should be concerned about is the welfare of our children's skulls and what goes inside of them, especially with as much money as we put into educating said skulls. However, this vote is primarily just whether they can play for Saranac Lake. So.
Plus, I think Rick, the medical person on our group here, would probably agree that they are monitored so closely now with concussions and everything else that it seems like the least little thing, the kid's sitting on the bench and they're being reviewed. I could be wrong with that, Rick, but I think if you compare it to 10 years ago, it's quite a bit different now.
Sure. Well, I think in all of our sports, it's important to
it's just-
monitor those things. I have several friends that suffer from CTE effects into their adulthood because of high school sports. And one of them, it was a locker room incident that led to, so it wasn't, I think there, there's obviously, like you said, there's dangers everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, hockey's right there with that, being slammed into the boards, So.
So is soccer. Soccer
Yeah.
is a
So wait,
growing concern.
Did you need to change your
Yeah, I
vote?
changed my vote.
Changing your mind.
No, I changed.
You wanted to say no, correct?
Yeah, correct.
The peer pressure.
Yeah, no.
He's succumbing to
Right,
peer
you
pressure.
said you're voting back.
Bring it back.
Okay,
There we
so
go.
so it's 6 yes, 1 no. and for whatever reason, it doesn't want me to do it. No.
There's your answer, Liam.
All right, I'm gonna have.
So it's 6 yes, 1 no.
Yes.
So the motion passes. Thank you for this discussion as well.
We should discuss something.
Yeah, when you hear about other school boards that seem pretty lively and
Yeah,
exciting, we're
right.
pretty like
We didn't have
boring
anybody
at
drag
times.
out.
You're
No protest?
no protest. There's no one going to get us in the parking lot afterwards. I don't think. I don't know.
We haven't done a sidewalk, that's true.
Shall we move on, Karen? Are you all set?
I'm ready now.
Okay. Donation acceptance. Whereas the Lake Placid Central Schools Board of Education Policy 6255, donations, gifts, and grants to the district allows for the superintendent of school to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donation, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows: GoFundMe account in the amount of $5,961.99 for the elementary school playground. Therefore, be it resolved in accordance with Policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the check from the GoFundMe account in the total amount of $5,961.99 for the elementary school playground. May I have a motion to accept this donation?
So moved.
Thank you, Daniel. Second.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion?
If I could just add that this whole effort has been ongoing now for years. And it's been spearheaded by our principal, Sonia Franklin, and it's been supported by parents and teachers and students. And this summer, we believe, a major piece of equipment will be installed at the elementary school playground. We're hoping before the start of the school year. Yes? We think so?
I think that's the plan.
That's the plan, right? So just congratulations and thank you to those people who led this charge.
How close are we to, or are they to reaching their goal? Do you know?
Close enough where they sign the quotes to get the process going.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's all about $99,000. They're pretty damn close to that.
Great.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yes. If anybody has a penny in their pocket, we can round this number.
I was thinking the same thing.
Please vote.
7 yes.
Okay, 7 yes, 0 no's, so the donation is accepted. We have a secondary donation acceptance. Whereas the Lake Placid Central School Board of Education Policy 6255, donation, gifts, and grants to the district allows for the superintendent to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donations, and grants having a value of less than $1,500, whereas monies have been granted for the following: Adirondack Foundation, Caroline and Sergey Lucy, field trip fund in the amount of $43,100 for the 2021 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. Now, therefore, be it resolved in accordance with Policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the check from the Adirondack Foundation, Caroline and Sergey Lucy Field Trip Fund in the amount of $43,100 for the 2021 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. May I have a motion to accept this donation?
Yes.
Dan and Colleen.
No, it was Martha.
Oh, is it Martha?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Roger, do the sixth graders still do this trip that they used to take into John Brook Lodge or something like that in the fall?
Boca McCready Camp Boca McCready. They didn't, of course, this year.
Right.
Right. And it's sort of up in the air whether or not to continue that trip.
Oh, okay.
So I was talking with our middle school principal today about that. So that's
Okay.
under discussion whether or not to make any changes there.
Okay.
We're looking at field trips.
Okay.
The 5th grade, with the support of the Adopt Fund there, Daniel, you're on that. You're an advisor on that committee. Has identified two field trips for the 5th grade. One to Albany at the state capitol and the museum, and another to Proctor's Theater.
Oh, okay.
And to have the ed op fund has graciously volunteered to fund those trips. And then this 8th grade trip, of course, which is funded by Caroline and Sergey Lucy Fund, money that they donated a few years back. As you know, this year the 8th grade was not able to go on that trip. So the plan is, everything's a plan still, right? Because we haven't, nothing's solidified. The plan is for next spring, both the 8th grade and the 9th grade, either together or separate, I don't know, to both go on that trip so that every student who has been attending school here will have that opportunity still. They won't miss it because of the pandemic. They would just have that experience 1 year later.
No, that's real. I'm really glad to hear that that's being rescheduled. Will the 5th grade class that just finished, I know that it's always been important, that trip to Albany. Is there any possibility they'll do that in 6th grade for them?
We have not discussed that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was just such a great, I mean, a lot of those kids would never get that opportunity.
I was glad to hear that, they were going to try and take both classes.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's actually why, this is actually a good explanation as to why you're approving this now, right? So you're approving this as the annual donation for this, last school year.
Right.
2021 school year. But that was necessary for the way the Ironic Foundation manages the money. They produce an income on an annual basis. And so they didn't send us this amount for the 2021 school year. It wouldn't be there for the 21-22 school year, at least not at the same level. So it wouldn't be able to fund both grades' trips.
Right.
That's why you're approving this right now.
Makes sense.
So 7 yes.
Okay, 7 yes, 0 against. The donation is accepted. Special thanks to the Lucys for their generosity. Let's see. BOCES transportation contract and the BOCES cooperative purchasing participation are both consent, as is the cell phone. Special education packet for July 6th is consent. Any questions on the July 20th packet, which is in your inboard docs for review?
We still are at that point in the year where the packets are thick. And we'll probably one more like that.
So please do not hesitate if you don't have questions here, but you do outside, please let myself know or Roger, or as you all know, Sarah is very open to coming and discussing anything that we'd like her to. So any good of the cause, emails? Okay, thank you. Committee appointments. I know Karen sent out an email on the committees, and did everyone get a chance to review and respond? Attempting to download it here now. It's taking its time. Okay. So as you go down through these, the policy committee, if you did not take the opportunity to look through them and you are not willing to fulfill your obligation in volunteering on these committees, please let myself or Karen know. Or if you'd like to be on one of these committees, please let us know.
Karen, can I give you a few edits?
Yes.
Number 3, health and safety.
Yeah.
Should be Dave Mayberry, not Dan.
Oh, yes.
Just let him know he's got an extra job. Just drive up from Keene.
Is Josh Favreau, is that automatic that it will be Nikki? Is that
I would think so.
okay?
Yeah, it has been highlighted.
You're
But I
right.
have crossed Colleen off,
Okay.
and I crossed Jeff Brown off.
I'll rejoin that committee.
on the audit committee. Could you put vice in front of president, please? I don't want to steal
Oh,
Rex.
so, no, so this is what happened there, just so you're aware. I'm trying to get away from some names.
Right.
And so I put the board president and then whoever else. That's why I did that
Okay.
way.
That makes sense. That's,
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't know if you noticed that in our, the other things when we did our designations of people and put, instead of putting Roger and then Tim, I put
Superintendent.
Yeah.
Great idea.
So I think it's important that the audit committee, that the board president is on it. And if you want, I can put board president and vice president because, but I don't know going forward if that would be the case.
Right. I think it's safe the way you have it.
Okay.
Shared decision-making committee. As you may or may not know, it's a required committee. There's rather extensive guidelines on page 61 of your law book if you're interested, as to how that's formed and how it's carried out. So right now is the superintendent, administrator, teacher. Jason is the only, Jason Leon. Does he have to re-up each year? Or, do you know? Okay.
It's probably a good idea to inform him.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
We've given him the title again.
And then parents, there are none. So I think if we're going to actively pursue this committee, we'll need to get serious and put some parents on there. And Colleen, you're no longer a non-parent community member, are you? Or do you want to wear both hats?
What am I under?
You're under the board and
Yeah,
you're also
no,
under
I should just be
non-parent.
under the board.
Because it is required to meet. I did read that. I think there was no meetings because there really wasn't an active committee, correct? It was on
Right
paper,
now,
but
shared decision-making committee, but we have put other committees, most recently the DEI committee, under this umbrella.
correct.
And so, while I would agree with you that the formal umbrella committee, standing committee of the shared decision-making committee has not met. The advisory committee, in this case, the DEI committee, meet regularly and had all of these members, many parents and many staff members.
Right. And that's the confusing part is, does the subcommittee make up or should it be inclusive of the whole committee?
Right.
So if there's another, if there's DEI and then there's another, sports committee, let's say, under there. That's just, it's hard for me to grasp, and the law description didn't help me any further.
Right. When we put this together this way a few years ago, we were attempting to join the legal requirement with the reality. And the reality was that the standing committee wasn't feeling productive, but that we knew that temporary committees, even if temporary meant for a significant portion of time, with a committed goal, would have that kind of involvement.
Okay.
So that was what we were trying to do.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the committees?
I'd like to join the health and safety buildings.
Okay. Anyone else? Great. Thank you, everyone. Get rid of this. Setting objectives. you have two files, the goals and objectives from 2020, 21, and then there's the completed list. What we have done in the past, Karen, you put these on Google Docs, correct? And if there are no objections, I'd like to go ahead and do the same. That way, all of us have freedom to go in, add what we'd like, comment on what we don't think should be included, and come up with the goals under our current vision, goals, and objectives. One of the goals, I believe, or bullet point was to look at the strategic plan. So I believe we're due for a strategic plan overhaul, and that's, if anybody has been involved in that, that's a humongous undertaking. We were here for a couple of Saturdays mulling through that on this current one, but it's a very important document that a lot of items spin off. So that's what we'll be looking at. So if you can just take a real good look at this, see what you feel should be included under these goals, the strategic goals, to help move us forward as a board and also as a district, that would be greatly appreciated. Karen, when do you think you can?
I'll put the goals and objectives into the Google Doc. I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay, so it'll be the original one, not this one that has DEI committee, COVID.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, it'll be the original
Okay.
ones
So-
that we adopted.
Correct.
Okay, so the one that's 2020, 21, these are all new that looks like,
These were sort of my explanations of what meant that
Okay.
goal.
okay,
The circle
okay,
bullet is
Okay.
the explanation.
okay,
Did it a little bit differently this year. Year before, I kept real close track of which was
Okay.
which. And then Karen did the same, and we sort of duplicated our efforts. And this
Okay.
year, we both went off in different directions. And so we'll go back, I think, to,
I mean, I tried to
Right.
capture it, but when,
Yeah.
there was, like sometimes there was an afterthought and it never
Right.
got quite back to
Exactly.
me. So,
so,
but yeah, so in the other document, the top part of it says strategic goal number 1, like up until it has the dates. That's the actual goal. So you'll see all the goals just lumped one right after the other into one document.
Yeah.
And I'll throw it up in Google Docs.
okay.
and when you're going through those, remember that when we go through the section of the agenda, which is, what is it called? Linking goals, agenda items with the goals, or goals with
right.
agenda items. That what did you mention, for students first and foremost? It wasn't a true bullet, so it didn't mirror that bullet, but you thought it was students first and foremost. So you thought it was important enough. And those, if you come at it from that angle, it's pretty easy to throw in what you'd like to see under those items.
Mhm.
And we can duplicate as well. I don't want it to be a mirror image, but
Right,
just
Right, and I think also like some of the ones that you didn't, achieve, you can
Right.
just throw back on.
yeah, the COVID barrier ones would be nice to put back on.
right.
Any comments on that? Does that seem like a decent strategy for everyone?
Yeah.
Unless you'd like to come in this Saturday and we can all sit around in a circle and.
That would be a good time. Yeah. Let's vote on that.
Okay. With that said, we'll enter the adjournment phase. The next meeting date and locations, July 20th, right here at 6:30, and then again August 10th at 6:30. You notice the August is not the first. And we discussed it at the last meeting, I believe, that there's sometimes a board meeting on the 17th, correct?
Correct.
And sometimes there's just not enough information there, so we skip that one. We just have one August meeting. So, any old agenda topics or new agenda topics?
I don't know if it falls under new or old, but we did not go through the super eval process this year for Roger, but I would like to take a moment to still recognize Roger for all of his hard work in the last year and, thank him for, keeping the school running with, the difficult time that we went through. And stepping up and, filling in here for an extra month, into your retirement now. So,
Thank you, Dan.
thank you.
That was I approached Roger with that, should we go through the process of an evaluation? And we both agreed that the amount of time that's put into that, it's well worth it. But hopefully he knows how we all feel and how the school year went. And we don't need to put down all the goals that were achieved. And a huge goal was achieved, and that was getting through the year safely.
And keeping you on in that ball and chain that's around your ankle that we've kept you at the table for the next month or two.
I'm going to buy the Gorilla tape.
Yes.
He's been in his office.
Yeah. We're going to miss you, Roger.
It will be mutual.
Gosh, all those years back in the guidance counselor office and sitting with my boys looking, it's a long way back.
I had a staff member today, I don't know where it came from, but she came in and she goes, "So Dr. Catania's getting done." She goes, "He counseled me quite a bit when I was in high school."
Oh, gosh. Oh, goodness.
We won't go there, but.
Goodness. I was talking about colleges.
All right, if nothing else, adjournment of the meeting, recommended action is to adjourn the meeting at 7:44 PM.
So
Thank you, Dan. A second.
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Appreciate everything.
Bye, everyone.